Dragon Ball Daily Gift Pack Chapter 401 to 425. 401. The Development of Saiyans in the Universe. Yichu, what are you doing looking at this library? Dimoto looked at Yichu and asked. After hearing Dimoto like this, Yichu lifted his steps and walked towards the library. Seeing Yichu's action, Dimoto's heart began to become a little surprised. Yichu, is it possible that you want to read some books in the library? Dimoto looked at Yichu and asked Fan Hong. He was also 10 points of surprise in his heart. He didn't expect Yichu to be someone who loved to read books, but after thinking about Yichu's character carefully, Dimoto found that it is very likely that Yichu is indeed such a person. Yes, Dimoto, I really just wanted to read some books in the library. Yichu turned his head and said to Dimoto. After hearing Yichu say this, Dimoto also took a deep breath. 18 Well, I didn't expect Yichu to be someone who likes to read books. Since Yichu wants to go to the library to read, then go there quickly. Dimoto opened his mouth, Yichu also nodded, and then he instructed Dimoto some things, saying that he wanted to look in the library. In fact, I would be back in a short time. After hearing Yichu say this, Dimoto could only agree, and then Dimoto told Yichu that he would go back to his room first and let Yichu come back after a while. Don't worry, Dimoto, I will go to the library to read some books by myself, and I will be back in a short time. Yichu said to Dimoto. Dimoto also seemed to be a little worried about Yichu, and then Dimoto handed Yichu a token. When I'm not by your side, I'm worried that you will encounter some danger. If you take out this token when you are in danger, you can also ensure all your safety at that time. Dimoto opened his mouth. Yichu nodded after hearing Dimoto say this. Yichu took Dimoto's token. Yichu took Dimoto's token, and found that there was a token on it. Big words. This word was written with a very strange symbol, and I don't know what age it was, but Yichu looked at the handwriting and found that the handwriting looked a bit like a monkey figure. It involved solemnly taking this token and then walked into the library. After seeing Yichu walking into the library, Dimoto could only sigh and then walked towards his mansion. After Yichu entered the library, he began to wander around the library, and found that the scope of the library is also very large, and there are many books in the library, and the types of these books are also different. There are many books in the library, in addition to some more precious books. There are also some more common books. Yichu knew that some ordinary books were found in a corner of the library. Although these books were very ordinary, in Yichu's eyes, they were not ordinary at all. These books are some of the more common books in the universe, and they also introduce a lot of information in the universe. Previously, Yichu only had a general understanding of the universe through other books, but he didn't understand it very well. And this time Yichu came to this library, what he mainly wanted to find was not the relatively common news in the universe, but the news about the Saiyans. Yichu found that in the universe, the Saiyans' living status seemed to be 10 points lower, so this also aroused Yichu's curiosity. This time Yichu came to the library, he felt that maybe he had doubts in his heart. Can also answer a little. Yichu began to carefully search for money in the surrounding books. After a day passed, Yichu finally found a very small book in a remote place in the corner. Although this book is relatively small, it is also very old. For a long time, the book cover even has some wrinkles. The Legend of the Saiyans. Opened the 823 book, Yichu's eyes were already attracted by the story in this book, which recorded the affairs of Saiyans. There are many Saiyans in the Dragon Ball universe. And although there are a lot of Saiyans in the Dragon Ball universe, they are also a lowly race. After coming to the universe, Yichu had not heard any information about Saiyans in the universe, but logically speaking, there should have been Saiyans in the universe. 10 points of resistance to Saiyans. A long time ago, there was a Saiyan family in the universe, and the Saiyans were also powerful Saiyans with 10 points, occupying 6/10 of the area of the universe, and they even wanted to become the real people in the universe. The Overlord. There has never been an Overlord in the universe, but the Overlord is about to appear in the universe, which also makes some people panic. 402. Upgrade weapons again. So many people began to unite, and they began to resist the dominance of the Saiyans, because the Saiyans are also 10 points of kindness, so gradually they began to be gradually infiltrated, and the rule of the Saiyans began. Some are falling apart. Quote. A lot of bad guys are united, and even the former Saiyan friends have turned their heads to deal with the Saiyans, and the Saiyan family has become a little precarious. After some time in the past, the Saiyan family has been destroyed, and after the destruction of the Saiyan family, it has been reduced to the most rubbish race. Everyone thinks that the Saiyan family has been destroyed, but there are also legends that the Saiyan family has its own ancestral star. Although Saiyans have their own ancestral stars in their lives, the Saiyans on the ancestral stars of the Saiyan family are very powerful, and the people on the ancestral stars of the Saiyan family have low status, but they can be there. Block some people with relatively high realm of strength from entering the ancestors of Saiyans. So the masters in the universe also set a rule. When there are masters in the Saiyan ancestors entering the universe, they will catch these masters, conduct research and finally kill them. Yi Chu took a deep breath when he saw this. His heart kept boiling, and there was a huge anger in his heart. At this moment, Yi Chu finally understood why he hadn't seen any Saiyans when he came to the universe realm, because the Saiyan family had already been exterminated in the universe realm. And Yi Chu also understood why in the Dragon Ball universe, those more powerful masters would be arrested after entering this universe. There was endless anger boiling in his chest, but after some time passed, Yi Chu slowly loosened his fists, because he knew that even if he was angry, there was nothing he could do. He must improve his strength and take revenge until his strength can destroy everything. Those enemies can destroy the Saiyan family, the largest family in the universe, so their strength must be very high. More importantly, he has not yet figured out who his enemy is, so he must keep a low profile, steady and steady. Yi Chu continued to read some books in the library, and then he continued to search for some time, but he couldn't find any other books about Saiyans, so after some time passed, Yi Chu had already left the library. Immediately afterwards, Yi Chu walked towards Demodo's mansion, because before Yi Chu said that he would return to Demodo's mansion after reading a book in the library. When Yi Chu returned to the mansion, Demodo was resting. Demodo also heard the news of Yi Chu's return. Demodo came out of his room in surprise and saw Yi Chu. Haha, Yi Chu, you really did come back, and it took so long. How is it? Did you find any useful books in the library this time? When Demodo spoke, Yi Chu also nodded. After seeing Yi Chu nod, Demodo felt happy for Yi Chu. I really don't know what books you read in the library, can you tell me? Demodo opened his mouth. After hearing what Demodo said, Yi Chu shook his head. Seeing Yi Chu shaking his head, Demodo also felt a little regret in his heart, and then he didn't say anything more. It was already sunset and dusk. After some time passed, it must be dark, and Yi Chu was also slightly sleepy. Demodo, I'll go to my room to rest first, and I'll come to you tomorrow morning. Yi Chu opened his mouth. After hearing Yi Chu's words, Demodo also nodded, and immediately after Demodo entered his room, he also felt a little sleepy. After Demodo returned to his room, he soon fell asleep. When Demodo received sleep, Yi Chu sat in his room and took out his sword. System, open the exchange store. Yi Chu didn't expect that at this time, the system also opened the exchange store to exchange, and when the store opened, he also saw the exchange points in the exchange store, Good Jiao, and there were 100,000 exchange points. When he saw so many exchange points, Yi Chu was also full of satisfaction, because he didn't have many exchange points before, so when he saw so many exchange points at this time, he was also 10 points of satisfaction in his heart. With so many exchange points, I don't know what can be exchanged, and he hasn't exchanged anything for so long, so his heart is still full of expectations. Yi Chu's eyes began to scan the items in the exchange store, which were full of dazzling arrays, and as Yi Chu's exchange points increased, there were more and more things to show Yi Chu, making Yi Chu a little dazzled. 403. Ancient Sword Spirit. But this time Yi Chu didn't open the exchange shop without a purpose. This time, he wanted to exchange for a booster. Although Yi Chu's divine sword was 10 points powerful, Yi Chu felt that he could strengthen his divine sword after so long. After some time passed, Yi Chu's eyes began to light up. He discovered a very precious thing, and this thing can only be redeemed with tens of thousands of exchange points. Desolate Sword Spirit. This is what Yi Chu took a fancy to this time. The ancient sword spirit is in the shape of a sword. Although he is in the shape of a sword, it seems to have his own life. Okay, this time I will exchange the ancient sword spirit. Yi Chu thought to himself, and then he began to exchange the ancient sword spirit. When Yi Chu exchanged the ancient sword spirit, he also picked up the divine sword, and when he picked up the divine sword, he used the vitality in his hand to fly the divine sword into the air, and Yi Chu also took the divine sword. Awakened the ancient sword spirit. When looking at the ancient sword spirit, Yi Chu felt a slight pain in his heart. It must be known that the 400 spirits of the ancient sword can only be redeemed with 30,000 exchange points. This ancient sword spirit is a very important thing to strengthen the sword, and I don't know what will happen to the sword after the ancient sword spirit is integrated into the sword. Yi Chu was full of anticipation when he thought about it, and then Yi Chu picked up the ancient sword spirit and placed it on the divine slicing sword in the air. And when the ancient sword spirit came into contact with the divine sword, the ancient sword spirit began to slowly melt, and then it was quickly absorbed by the divine sword like a stream of liquid. The top of the divine sword also began to shine brightly in an instant, emitting a dazzling light, and this kind of dazzling light even felt a little dazzling to Yi Chu. Ding dong, congratulations, you succeeded in sharpening the divine sword. Yi Chu's mind, a system prompt sounded, and then the light CGDA, light on the divine sword slowly disappeared, showing the current appearance of the divine sword. Now the divine sword is still in the shape of a sword, but he has changed his appearance. The previous divine sword looked ordinary, but extremely sharp. At this time, the ancient sword spirit has been integrated into the divine sword, so the divine sword has also undergone great changes. I saw that there is a full red light blooming on the blade of the divine sword. Now the divine sword it looks like a 10-point domineering. The handle of the divine sword has a red handle, and the handle is also engraved with some patterns, and the sword of the divine sword has more dense patterns, and these patterns are also black patterns. When you see these patterns, as if the soul had been pulled into it. Great, the divine sword has evolved successfully. The current appearance of the divine sword is also very different from the previous time. Yi Chu looked at Dai Shenjian and thought to himself that he felt that Dai Shenjian should no longer be called Dai Shenjian, but should be changed to another name. Yi Chu felt that he should give the divine sword a new name, but he didn't know what new name he should give. At this moment, Yi Chu remembered the system. System, I think it's better to name the divine sword. At this time, Yi Chu also thought about it in his mind, and at this time, the system also gave Yi Chu an answer. Host, you don't need to give your new sword of swords a new name, because the sword of swords that has evolved has its own new name. The evolved divine sword has its own new name. I don't know what the new name of the evolved divine sword is. Excalibur. The system gave a cold answer. Yi Chu's heart moved slightly after listening to the system's answer, because the name Slaughter Excalibur sounded 10 points domineering. Of satisfying. Excalibur. The name is really good. Quote. At this time, Yi Chu thought to himself, but he didn't expect that the divine sword family had its own name, and that the new name of divine sword was so domineering. Yi Chu was quite satisfied in his heart. Okay, from today on cutting the divine sword, it will be called slaughtering the divine sword. Yi Chu thought in his heart that he also picked up the divine slaughter sword. When Yi Chu took the divine slaughter sword back in his hand, his heart was also full of fighting intent. At this time, there were also waves of heat coming from the Excalibur. This heat also warmed Yi Chu's heart and body, which greatly improved Yi Chu's combat effectiveness. Yi Chu felt that he couldn't wait to fight. Yi Chu was very happy. At this time, Yi Chu looked out the window and found that it was already night. At night, it was dark outside. When Yi Chu saw the darkness outside, he was also full of deep sleepiness. Meaning, there seemed to be some sound of sound sleep outside, and these sound of sound sleep should have come from Demodo. Well, it looks like I should go to bed too. Yi Chu thought to himself that he also fell asleep shortly after, and after Yi Chu fell asleep, a man in black suddenly appeared outside the window, and he didn't know who this man in black was. 404. Abnormality of Bamo King City. The man in black seemed to be heading towards Yi Chu's room. His figure seemed 10 minutes ethereal, and there was no sound at all. Soon the figure had heard Yi Chu's room, and a cold light appeared in his hand, and a knife was held in his hand. Die. The man in black seemed to make such a sound, and he immediately stabbed the position of Yi Chu's bed with the short knife in his hand. This short knife is 30 points short, but its power is 10 points huge. It has pierced Yi Chu's roof in an instant. What's even more amazing is that when this short knife pierced Yi Chu's roof, it didn't emit any sound. Any sound. The next moment Yi Chu seemed to be stabbed to death by this short knife. And at this moment, Yi Chu also opened his own eyes. Yi Chu's eyes shone brightly. He opened his eyes at the moment of life and death, and then raised his feet, facing the man in black in the air ruthlessly kicked in the past. Seeing Yi Chu's sudden reaction in such a critical situation, the man in black also had a hint of surprise in his eyes. He never expected Yi Chu's reaction speed to be so fast. And was finally kicked by Yi Chu. However, although Yi Chu kicked the man in black was not harmed in the slightest. When Yi Chu kicked the man in black, there was a sound of gold and iron intersecting. Yi Chu's complexion changed slightly. He didn't expect that there was a treasure with a very high defense power hidden in the chest of the man in black. At this time, the man in black also gave a grim smile. Haha, I didn't expect it. I have a very high quality defensive treasure. Just because you want to break my defensive treasure, you should die obediently. The man in black opened his mouth, and at this moment, a red light suddenly flashed in the air, and then the red light had already slashed the body of the man in black. All of a sudden, the man in black had been chopped in half, and the majestic blood began to spill from the air. Do you really think you have the treasure? Yi Chu smiled coldly, and then held his divine slaughter sword in his hand. He really took out the divine slaughter sword just now, and then immediately used the divine slaughter sword to kill the man in black. The divine sword was not only the man in black who killed the man in black at once, but also the defensive treasure in the man's chest was cut in half. At this time, Demodo also woke up, and Demodo heard the sound of fighting before, so he walked over here. What's going on? What the hell happened here, Yi Chu? Demodo went to Yi Chu's room, looked at Yi Chu and said, at this time he also noticed the body of the man in black on the floor of Yi Chu's room. Yi Chu, you didn't get any injuries, did you? Demodo looked at Yi Chu and asked. Yi Chu smiled calmly after hearing Demodo ask. It doesn't matter, I didn't get any injuries, just a little regretful. I didn't expect to kill this man in black all at once. I thought he still had some kind of treasure. Yi Chu opened his mouth, and after hearing Yi Chu say this, Demodo also relaxed a little. Okay, as long as you're fine. Demodo opened his mouth, and then his face became a little colder. It's so daring, I don't know who would dare to send someone to my mansion to assassinate you. Don't let me know his identity, or I won't let them go. Demodo spoke viciously, and Yi Chu also nodded. It was obvious that the man in black was just a victim, and his actions were not revealed behind the scenes. The two searched the man in black again, but found no other clues, so they went down. But the two didn't plan to end like this. They planned to continue to look for it in the future. This matter can be regarded as a small matter or a major matter. 0. The second day, Yi Chu and Demodo started to wander in the Bamo King City, but when the two of them were wandering in the Bamo King City, Yi Chu frowned. Although today's Bamo King City doesn't look any different from the usual time, Yi Chu can keenly sense some changes. The streets of Bamo King City still seem to be lively, but there seems to be some tension hidden, and I don't know why. Dimaduo, have you found it? The streets of Bamo King City seem to be a little nervous today, and everyone doesn't seem to be so relaxed. At this time, Yi Chu turned his head and said, and after hearing what he said, Dimaduo also nodded. Dimaduo's eyes were also slightly solemn. Let's go, Yi Chu, let's continue to wander around the city of Bamo. Dimaduo opened his mouth, Yi Chu nodded, and let them continue to wander around the streets of Bamo King City. After a while, Yi Chu's eyes narrowed slightly, because at this time he also noticed some abnormalities. 1. 405. The City Lord's Mansion. Immediately after, Demodo took Yi Chu back to their mansion. After Demodo brought Yi Chu back to his mansion, he seemed to have become a little silent. Yi Chu didn't know what Dimaduo was thinking, but he didn't pay much attention to it. The two of them seemed to have nothing to do with this matter and continued their original business. Although neither of them seemed to pay much attention to this matter, Yi Chu and Dimaduo actually paid a lot of attention to this matter in their hearts. What is Dimaduo's identity? And this time, although he doesn't seem to be paying too much attention to 750, I feel that he is also very concerned about it. Yi Chu thought of this in his heart. He seemed to have thought of something, and Yi Chu's heart was also a bold guess. Could it be that Demodo has something to do with Saiyans? Yi Chu thought this way in his own room, and when he was thinking this way in his heart, he also felt that this might also be getting bigger and bigger. But Yi Chu knew in his heart that he couldn't easily bring this up to Demodo, because if Demodo had nothing to do with the Saiyans, it might be a bad thing for him. Although the two of them didn't seem to care about this matter, both of them were constantly improving their strength. During this period of time, Demodo was also hiding in his room and did not come out. Yi Chu didn't know what Demodo was in. What are you doing? But because Yi Chu evolved the Excalibur, his strength has also improved a lot, and even Yi Chu felt that at this time, if he competes with Demodo again, he must be able to defeat Demodo. It seemed that the inside of Bamo King City was becoming more and more stressful, and Yi Chu was also constantly improving his strength. For some reason, it always felt like a catastrophe would come to them, and although this catastrophe did not know when will it come, but it will come. On this day, Yi Chu suddenly saw that there seemed to be a few dark shadows flashing outside his and Dimaduo's mansion, and Yi Chu's heart became a little more sensitive. Because there were some people in black who should come to Dimaduo's mansion to assassinate Yi Chu, and at this time, some people in black appeared, so Yi Chu felt that these people in black were people from before. The man in black is likely to be a gang. After all, the mastermind behind the man in black has not been caught by them. It seems that some people are still paying attention here. Even if the Saiyan thing doesn't involve us, there may be other things that will involve us. So I have to improve my strength, which is not only good for me, but maybe also helpful for Demodo, and I don't know if it's because of me or Demodo this time. Yi Chu is also constantly improving his strength. Although there are people in black outside constantly appearing, Yi Chu doesn't pay much attention now. 3 or 4 days had passed. Yi Chu also became a little nervous, because at this time he felt that although the surroundings seemed very quiet and there seemed to be no one, there seemed to be a lot of eyes watching him. Same as on the body. On this day, many people came to Dimaduo's mansion. There was an invisible chilling atmosphere, and at this time, Yi Chu stood in the room and looked out, and his heart was slightly stunned, because at this time Yi Chu found that they seemed to be surrounded, and there were many masters and countless people. The masters are around Demodo's mansion. The people inside come out quickly. If you come out, maybe we can let you out. At this time, such a voice suddenly came from outside. When Yi Chu heard this voice, Yi Chu's heart froze again. He didn't know why someone would say such a thing. Who the hell are you? This is Yi Chu, who also came out and shouted to the outside. Hearing Yi Chu's voice, there was silence outside for a while, and then they began to answer. Someone from the city lord's mansion. Hurry up and open your defensive formation. Hearing the sound from outside, Yi Chu's expression changed slightly. He didn't expect that he was coming from the city lord's mansion in Bamo King City. Yichu had also heard of the city 0.0 lord in this Bamo King City. I heard that the strength of the city lord in this Bamo King City is also very strong, even stronger than Dimaduo's. How could the city lord come here? According to reason, those men in black should not be the subordinates of the city lord, which means that Demodo is very likely to have something to do with the Saiyans, otherwise the city lord would not be able to come to here. Yichu thought to himself, because he also knew in his heart that the city lord was in charge of the Saiyan affairs recently. Under normal circumstances, the city lord would not have the intention to come to Demodo's mansion. 406. The Saiyans of the Universe World. I don't know what Demodo is doing. He still hasn't come out at this time. At this time, Yichu glanced at Demodo's room. His heart was also tense. He didn't know what Demodo was doing. There was an invisible formation around Demodo's room, which had the ability to defend an attack. You can isolate the surrounding exploration. Yichu also found out at this time, and the old servant Demodo came over, because Yichu also knew that the old servant Demodo was Demodo's subordinate, and the strength of the old servant Demodo was also very strong. The old servant Dimaduo also looked very ugly at this time, because he knew in his heart that the city lord came here, and there must be nothing good. Old servant of Dimaduo, now the city owner seems to have surrounded Demodo's mansion, and what should we do now? Yichu looked at Demodo's old servant and asked, and Demodo's old servant also glanced at Yichu after hearing Yichu's question. Yichu, maybe I don't know what he does, but I hope you don't do anything to disappoint me. The old servant Dimaduo looked at Yichu and said. Hearing the old servant Dimaduo said this, Yichu nodded seriously. Don't worry, Demodo old servant, Demodo was also very good to me in the past, and I also regard Demodo as my real good friend, so I will definitely stand by Demodo. Yichu said to the old servant Dimaduo. In fact, when he came out before, Demodo's old servant even had some hostility towards Yichu, but after Yichu said these words to Demodo's old servant, he found that Demodo's old servant's hostility slowly disappeared. Bang! At this moment, there was a loud bombardment in front of him, and then Yichu saw the fire in front of him, and the formation of Demodo's mansion was also punched out a huge hole. Inside this huge hole, Yichu also saw the scene outside the mansion. There were also countless experts outside the mansion, and in front of these masters stood a middle-aged man. This middle-aged man looked very serious. He was wearing a cannon, and he was filled with endless murderous aura. There was also the majesty of a superior. I'm afraid this is the city owner. Yichu looked at the middle-aged people standing in front of these masters and thought, and this is indeed the city lord of Bamo King City. According to the information we got, Dimaduo is the Saiyan who entered the city of Bamo. Now let me go in and arrest the Saiyan, and then kill all the rest. At this time, the city owner said loudly, and Yichu became extremely surprised in his heart. Although he suspected that Demodo might have something to do with the Saiyans, he did not think that Demodo was Saiyan. What? Demodo is actually a Saiyan. And at this time, the city owner also came in person. I'm afraid Demodo is really dangerous. Yichu thought in his heart that he was also preparing for the battle, because Yichu also knew at this time that Demodo was a Saiyan, and he was actually a Saiyan himself, so Yichu and Demodo were also at this time. They are indeed on the same line. Immediately afterwards, countless masters rushed in towards Demodo's mansion. When these masters rushed in, Demodo's old servant also moved. At this time, Yichu also really saw Demodo's old servant. Strength. The old servant Demodo floated towards the air. When the old servant Dimaduo floated, a huge airflow began to fill his body. It seems that there is an invisible aura that radiates around. This invisible aura emanates from the body of the old servant Demodo. The breathing of the masters around them is a little disordered, and the blood in their bodies starts in an instant. The disorder became chaotic, and many masters also began to burst open in an instant, and the scene looked very bloody. Dimaduo's old servant just released his momentum, and already killed 1/10 of these masters who rushed in. Being able to be a Saiyan subordinate is indeed very powerful, but your 140 kinds of strength are still not enough. At this time, the city lord also walked towards the old servant Dimaduo. When the city lord walked over, he also waved his hands, and the city lord's waving hands seemed to cover the sky for a moment. The city lord waved his palm down, and his palm became as thick as a mountain, covering the entire old servant of Dimaduo. Immediately after, the city lord slapped the old servant Dimodo on the body. The old servant Dimaduo also seemed to have been hit hard. Big pit. At this time, Yichu glanced at Dimodo's room and found that Dimodo still hadn't come out. He also had some doubts in his heart. Could it be that Dimaduo already knew the danger at this time, so he had abandoned us and ran away? Yichu didn't expect it in his heart, but Yichu quickly overturned this inference. He felt that Dimaduo would not be that kind of person. 407. Exit. Take the old servant Dimodo to me. The city lord said to his subordinates. There were also many masters in his subordinates, and then he said that 10 masters ran over and arrested Dimodo's old servant. My lord, I hope you don't come out, and I hope the boss is in a good mood. ... You can get out of here by yourself and I'll survive, or we'll all die if you come out. Dimodo's old servant thought to himself, because although he seems to be a master-servant relationship with Dimodo, the two are actually friends, so he has always been 10 points loyal to Dimodo. Soon the old servant Dimodo was arrested. Although the old servant of Dimaduo also beat up some people when he resisted, he was also arrested after all. However, the old servant Dimodo still had some relief in his heart, because he did buy a lot of time for Dimodo. Just when the old servant Dimodo was arrested, the city lord also looked at Yichu. According to the information I got, Dimodo also values you 10 points, so what is your identity? Why does Dimodo value you so much? The city lord looked at Yichu and said, although Yichu's strength does not seem to be very strong, the city lord seems to place 10 points of attention on Yichu. What else can I be? I'm just an ordinary person. If you want to take me down, then come here. Yichu opened his mouth and said, and the city lord began to laugh when he heard Yichu's words. Although Yichu has doubts in the city owner's heart, he also thinks that Yichu is very likely to be an ordinary person, but he also can't see what kind of mystery Yichu is, which makes Dimaduo value Yichu so much. Immediately after, the city lord also stretched out his palm and grabbed towards Yichu, and when the city lord grabbed Yichu, just as he was about to grab Yichu in his hand, the surrounding earth suddenly began to vibrate. Up. Boom. Several houses next to it began to tremble, and the door of Dimodo's house also opened. Dimodo slowly walked out of his room, stretched out his hands and patted the palm of the city lord. Past. Dimodo's palm is constantly rotating, carrying huge energy on it, and it is in contact with the palm of the city lord in an instant, and when the two attacked together, the attack of the city lord was also knocked off a little by Dimodo. Passing Yichu. I didn't expect you to have such strength. As expected of the Saiyans left behind, his strength is indeed a 10-point high strength. Although his realm is not as good as mine, he can actually block my attack. The city owner looked at Dimodo who came out and said, and his heart became a little surprised, because he found that Dimodo was indeed here. If Dimodo left here, maybe he would have nothing to do this time. Since Dimodo stood up for himself, the city owner felt that he could take Dimodo in his heart. Your target this time is me, so can you let Yichu leave? He is just an ordinary person. The reason why I value him is because of his temperament. At this time, Dimodo said, and the city lord smiled when he heard Dimodo say this. It's not possible for me to let Yichu go. If you let us arrest you now, maybe I can let Yichu go. The city lord opened his mouth and said, although he said so, but he didn't want to put Yichu at all in his heart. After Dimodo heard the city lord say this, his heart became slightly ugly, because Dimodo felt bad for the city lord. His temperament is also somewhat understandable, knowing that the city lord is just lying to him at this time. It seems that there is only one battle. If you people actually come here, leave them all. Dimaduo said, and then with a wave of his hands, a huge formation seemed to rise around the mansion, and this formation also shrouded all the masters who had just come in. The masters brought by the city lord are probably more than 300, and each of them is very strong. However, at this time, most people's expressions changed a bit, because they found that the top of the formation was very powerful. No Wang Haojiao, but the face of the city lord didn't seem to have changed much. His heart was not so panicked, and then his face began to return to normal. He felt in his heart that even if Demodo had this formation, it would be impossible to keep what they had. He could easily capture Demodo. After all, Demodo had some differences compared to him. The difference is blowing. Demodo's eyes looked at the city lord quietly. This time he was also preparing to fight the last stand, and the confidence in his heart was not very strong, but although Demodo's confidence in his heart was not very strong, he must look confident. 1 point, if he is not confident, he must not even have the qualifications to fight. 408. Yi Chu's attack. A tidal army rushed towards Demodo, and Demodo also moved. His figure kept flashing, entered the crowd of these masters, and killed a lot of masters at once. At this time, the city lord still did not move, because he was also watching the 4-week formation. At this time, a lot of light seemed to shoot out of the 4-week big formation, and it was possible to kill more than a dozen masters in one fell swoop. Demodo quickly killed the masters around him, but the number of these masters was still more than 10 points, so Demodo became a little anxious. Then Demodo saw that the city lord was silent, and rushed towards the city lord. Come here, I want to attack the city lord. Kicked Demodo 587 fiercely. Du kicked over and kicked Demodo all at once. Demodo also had a shield in front of him, blocking the city lord's attack. Demoduo also sank slightly, and he found that there was indeed some gap with the city owner. I know how to crack this formation. If you want to crack this big formation, you can either seal your vitality or kill you. The city owner said that he also discovered some laws of this formation at this time, and at this time, the city owner also rushed towards Demoduo instantly. At this time, Yi Chu was standing in the distance. Although he didn't seem to move, he kept his eyes fixed on the city lord. Demodo and the city lord quickly fought each other. When the two of them fought together, Demodo was also defeated in an instant. Although Demodo seemed to be 10 points strong from Demodo before, but Demodo after all, there is some gap between Moduo and the city lord, and there are some kind of masters around who are attacking Demoduo. Soon Demodo's body became a little bruised, and his face became even more hideous. However, the city lord did not kill Demodo immediately. If he wanted to kill Demodo with one move, he could do it, but the city lord's goal was to kill Demodo. Demodo may be the only Saiyan in the universe, so the city lord also got the order of the superior, and it is Demodo who wants to be captured. You should be glad that you are a Saiyan, otherwise, I am afraid that I will slap to death now. The city owner said to Demoduo, but also sneered stubbornly. Immediately afterwards, the city lord continued to attack Demodo, and when he was about to arrest Demodo, he felt that the city lord suddenly felt a dangerous aura coming from behind him. The city owner didn't know what was going on behind him, but the city owner also gave up attacking Demodo and dodged to the side. Yi Chu had been standing next to him and did not attack before, and he was also accumulating his own strength. When the city lord was most relaxed together, he wanted to give the city lord a heavy blow. There were originally a lot of masters beside the city lord, but when Yi Chu slashed over, those masters around the city lord started to sever as if they had been slashed, and they lost their voices in an instant. In the past, Demoduo had become a little desperate in his heart, but when he found that Yi Chu suddenly rushed over, some vitality suddenly rose in his heart. Demodo's heart was also 10 points of surprise. He looked at Yi Chu who was behind the city lord, and felt a little unbelievable in his heart. Yi Chu's sword was so beautiful that Demodo felt some beauty in his heart. Although the city lord felt the danger behind him, this blow was one that Yi Chu had accumulated for a long time, not to mention that Yi Chu had strengthened the divine sword during this period of time. This sword is also incomparably sharp, with a faint red light flashing on the Excalibur, as if some red dragons were drawn, attacking the city lord. The city lord felt this attack, but he was still unable to escape, and was slashed to the waist of the city lord by Yi Chu's ruthless sword. At this time, the city lord also turned his head around, and his face became a little shocked. "You, how is that possible?" The city lord opened his mouth, and his heart was extremely shocked. He did not expect that this blow was actually sent by Yi Chu. Yi Chu seemed to be the weakest one among the people present, but the blow he made even surpassed his strongest blow. Powerful. Yi Chu slashed the city lord fiercely with a sword, and the city lord became bruised all over his body in an instant, and the flesh and blood where Yi Chu slashed disappeared at once, as if he had entered Yi Chu's divine sword. As if absorbed by Yi Chu's divine sword. 409. Escape. There are many cracks on his body, as if his body is like a blue and white porcelain that will burst open in an instant. At this time, there were still some surviving people in the field, and when these people saw that the city lord was attacked like this by Yi Chu, their hearts became extremely shocked. They still have endless fear in their hearts, because the most powerful person among them is the city lord, but now that the city lord has been beaten by Yi Chu, what can they do? Yi Chu stood in the field with the sword of slaughter. His expression seemed a little indifferent, looking at the city lord coldly, although Yi Chu didn't see the other people, but the other people felt some fear in their hearts, their bodies there were even some tremors. With the divine sword in his hand, Yi Chu slowly walked towards the city lord. The city lord sank into the deep valley and felt a little scared, and then his pace kept going backwards. I saw the city lord for a moment, and I used all the remaining power to shoot towards the formation in front of the mansion, past. The city lord could not crack the formation at this time, but he could leave the formation and save his own life, so the city lord also left the formation in an instant, and after he left the formation, it was an instant. Running desperately into the distance. Yi Chu watched the city lord do this, but he did not make any obstacles, because Yi Chu used his great strength to perform this blow just now, so he could not stay as the city lord. At this time, Demodo also suffered some injuries, so he couldn't stop the city lord. Demodo was also shocked by 10 points. Yi Chu, you are so powerful that you even defeated the city lord. Demodo looked at Yi Chu and said, his eyes were still very shocked. After hearing Demodo say this, Yi Chu also nodded. What are you still doing? Get out of here quickly. It took me a long time to save the attack just now. If the city lord finds out about this, he will come back, and then we will be in danger. At this time, Yi Chu also whispered to Demodo. When he heard Yi Chu say this, Demodo also nodded, and then his eyes swept to the surrounding masters. After the previous World War I, there were not many masters around. Although they were not weak, the strength of these masters was simply impossible to compare with Yi Chu and Demodo. Although Demodo and Demodo's old servant suffered some physical injuries, they were able to kill them easily in the face of these masters, and then the two of them kept asking for rapid speed and performed several very powerful attacks. Then kill all the masters brought by the other city lords present. Okay Yi Chu, let's get out of here now, otherwise the city lord might come back later, and maybe there are some other masters. After all, I am a Saiyan, not only the city lord wants to find me, but the city lord I don't know how many masters behind me want to catch me. Demodo looked at Yi Chu and said, Yi Chu heard Demodo say so he stood by Demodo's side, and then helped Demodo's old servant. The three of them also quickly left the place. And the city lord also quickly returned to his city lord mansion. After the city lord returned to his city lord mansion, he also raised the great formation of his city lord mansion. After doing so, he also checked the extent of his injuries and found his injuries. It is very huge, but the city lord did not immediately rescue his injuries, but took out a black gem. The city lord took out the black gem, and then the black gem began to light up, and then a phantom began to appear inside. This was also the projection of an unknown powerhouse, and this unknown powerhouse seemed to be 10 points powerful. City lord, what happened? Why are you so seriously injured? Didn't you go to the Saiyans before? Did you encounter any difficulties? The unknown powerhouse looked at Demodo and said, and Demodo also began to explain. This time, it is indeed convenient for me to find the Saiyan. His name is Demodo, and I almost caught Demodo, but in the end, a man appeared. His name is Yichu. Yichu, the strength is incomparably high, and I was seriously injured with a single sword. If I didn't escape, I might die somewhere. Demodo said, and when Demodo said this, the unknown powerhouse in this projection also became silent. What a waste, you can't even do such a thing. But you don't have to worry, since you haven't caught the Saiyan, then we will send more experts, and then go to contain the Saiyan. He can't run very far. The unknown powerhouse in the phantom said, and after hearing the unknown powerhouse in the projection say so, the city lord also sighed. BU 410. The safest place. At this time, Yichu and Dimaduo had also left the Bamo King City. After they left the Bamo King City, they flew out at a very fast speed. They also encountered some enemies along the way, but they were all attacked. Yichu and Dimaduo were easily beheaded. Demodo, where are we going to escape to at this time? At this time, Yichu looked at Demodo and asked. Hearing Yichu like this, Demodo also began to explain. Yichu, our current goal is to leave this Bamo royal city, and then leave this world. I don't know exactly where we should go, but we should escape to an inaccessible place called 840 inches. At this time, Demodo said to Yichu. After Yichu heard Demodo say this, Yichu also became silent. Then Yichu started talking about his head, and all looked at Demodo. Dimaduo, in this world, what is the place with the most masters? Yichu looked at Demodo and asked. After Demodo heard Yichu asking this, he also became puzzled in his heart. He didn't know why Yichu asked such a question. Yichu, the place with the most masters in this world is Wangxi City. There are many masters in Wangxi City, and the strength in this area is also the most powerful, and this place is also the most dangerous place for us. Dimaduo looked at Yichu and said. Yichu also became silent after hearing Demodo say this. Is there the most masters in Wangxicheng? If so, let's go to Wangxicheng. At this time, Yichu thought for a while, and said, there was a shrewd light in his eyes. After hearing Yichu say this, Demoduo also became extremely surprised in his heart. He didn't know why Yichu said this. The most dangerous place is the safest place. After we enter Wangxi City, I'm afraid we can relax a little more. Yichu opened his mouth, and after hearing Yichu say this, Demoduo's heart froze slightly, and Demodo felt that Yichu's words also made some sense. The most dangerous place is the safest place. Those people will definitely not think that they will hide in Wangxi City, so if they go to Wangxi City, I am afraid it will be relatively safer. Okay, if that's the case, then let's go into Wangxi City, as you said. Demodo opened his mouth. After hearing Demodo say this, Yichu also nodded, and then a few of them headed towards Wangxi City in this world. Wangxicheng also took 3 days to complete. Reach there. When they walked towards Wangxi City, they did not encounter many dangers along the way, and presumably they did not expect many experts to think that they would walk into Wangxi City. Because Yichu also had a lot of treasures, Yichu also took out a treasure to hide their tracks. During this period of time, there were also many experts searching for Yichu's traces, but they couldn't find any traces of Yichu and Dimaduo, and their hearts became a little anxious. Strange, I saw that they left from the city of Bamo, but where did they go in the end? Why didn't they even leave a trace? Some masters said, and they also became a little sad in their hearts. It doesn't matter, I just need to follow the orders of the superiors, and the superiors are also orders. Let us keep searching in all directions, and don't let any suspicious places go. Another master said that the other masters had a headache, so they began to continue to look for it, and at this time Yichu and Dimaduo had also arrived at the gate of the Emperor's first city in this world. They are in a corner of the entrance of Wangxi City, and there is no one in this place. Seeing the incomparably huge imperial origin city, Yichu was also slightly shocked. The Imperial Origin City in this world was undoubtedly much larger than any city Yichu had seen before. Yichu, are we really going to enter the Imperial City? At this time, Demodo also looked at Yichu and asked. When they came to Wangxi City, Demodo's heart became a little tangled again. You must know that there are many masters in Wangxi City. In particular, there is a Shiwangjun in Wangxicheng. He is the 1.6 ruler of Wangxicheng. The strength of Shiwangjun can be said to be unparalleled and powerful. Even if he is now, his strength will also be easily killed by Shiwangjun. Yes, let's enter the Imperial Origin City. Yichu opened his mouth. After hearing what Yichu said, Demodo also looked at Yichu again and asked, but Yichu, there are very strong restrictions around the Imperial City. If we want to enter the Imperial City, how should we enter it? What? It's okay, I have my own way. Yichu opened his mouth. He was going to exchange a treasure in the system, and then use this to enter Wangxi City. 411. Hide. System, open the exchange store. Yichu thought of it in his mind, and then he opened the exchange shop. There are many treasures in it, and these treasures also contain many precious things. After watching for a while, Yichu finally found what he wanted. Walking through the rune. This was what Yichu finally exchanged. After Yichu redeemed it, he took the walking rune in his hand. At this time, Demodo was also curious to see the walking rune held in Yichu's hand with 10 points. He didn't know what it was. Yichu, what exactly are you holding in your hand? Why does it look so miraculous? Didn't you just say that you want to let the two of us enter the Imperial Origin City? You took out this thing. Could it be this thing? Can you let me enter Wangxi City? Demodo looked at Yichu and said. 18. Yichu nodded after hearing Demodo say this. After Yichu nodded, Demodo was even more surprised. He didn't expect Yichu to actually say that this thing could make them enter into the Imperial City. Yichu, can this thing really allow us to enter Wangxi City? How can we let us enter Wangxi City? At this time, Demodo continued to ask Yichu. After Yichu heard Demodo, he also walked up to Demodo, and immediately began to explain to Demodo. It's called the walking talisman. We just need to hold this walking talisman in our hand, then walk to the front of the city wall of Wangxi City, and then stick this on it and we can enter Wangxi City. Yichu said to Demodo. After Demodo heard Yichu say this, he was even more surprised, but he didn't find Yichu to say this. Demodo was also very curious in his heart. He didn't know if this was really possible. If it was really possible, wouldn't they be able to enter it very smoothly? And Demodo also believed in Yichu 10 points. I believe that Yichu should not talk nonsense. Okay, if that's the case, let the two of us go to the city wall now and have a try. Demodo said to Yichu, and then the two of them ran towards the city wall, and they quickly found a place where there was no one in front of the city wall. Although this place is remote, it is also very difficult to enter, but they now have this walking rune in their hands. Immediately after, Yichu took out the walking talisman. After Yichu took out the walking talisman, the two of them also stood in front of the city wall, and put their hands on it, and then the two of them held tight. Looking at each other closely, Yichu then used the walking rune. When Yichu used the walking talisman quickly disappeared, and the two of them had their mobile phones attached to the city wall. The two of them felt a strong attraction, which came from the walking talisman. Then the two passed through the city wall and entered Wangxi City. The next moment, the two of them entered Wangxi City, and after entering Wangxi City, there were still these people for 4 weeks, but those people didn't seem to see Yichu before, so Demodo's heart was also 10 points. Of surprise. Demodo turned his head to look at Yichu. He was also shocked in his heart. He never thought that Yichu could really let the two of them enter Wangxi City with the help of this so-called walking talisman. Yichu, I didn't expect that your walking talisman would really allow us to enter the Imperial Origin City. This is really great, and it seems that the people around haven't seen us yet. At this time, Demodo said to Yichu, and Yichu nodded after hearing Demodo say this. Let's find a hiding place quickly, The stealth time of this walking rune is only 1 minute, so we must find a safer place to hide within 1 minute. Yichu said to Demoto. After Demoto heard Yichu's words, he became nervous. Then the two of 410 didn't know how to walk in Wangxi City, and it was very noisy in Wangxi City. However, Yichu and the two quickly found a quieter place. There are a lot of buildings in this place and there are a lot of people, but because there are a lot of people in this place, Yichu felt that this place is very safe, and after the two people got here, they immediately went underground. The two of them built a basement under this area, and they also sneaked into the basement. Yichu arranged some hidden formations in the basement. In this case, no matter what the two of them were doing inside, they might not be able to do anything outside. Some news may be felt. Yichu, now that we are hiding here, is it really safe? Will no one really find us? Demoto asked Yichu. Yichu nodded after hearing Demoto's question. Demoto felt relieved when he saw Yichu nodding. 412. One bright, one dark. Although he asked this question, he didn't think in his heart that they would be in danger, because he felt that even if they were in danger, there was nothing they could do. The best way for them now is in this basement. The two of them hid in the basement for a few days, and they were not found by anyone during these few days. Demoduo was completely relaxed in his heart, because according to common sense, the two of them must be there. It was searched by a large number of masters, but if the two of them were not found, it means that the strategy chosen by the two of them is also a good 10 points. Yichu, the two of us are hiding here now, and no one has really found us. It means that we are still very safe here. No one can find us for the time being. As long as we don't go out, it may be a long time. Time is safe. Demoto said to Yichu. Yichu nodded after hearing Demoto say this. He also felt the same way, but Yichu had some other thoughts in his heart, because he felt that they could not always be hide in this place. Yichu, what do you think about this matter? Could it be that we have been hiding in this basement? Demoto asked Yichu. Yichu also began to explain after hearing Demoto's question. He does have some ideas of his own now, and he plans to tell Demoto. Demoduo, we will definitely not hide in this basement all the time, so I also have some ideas in my heart, and I also have a practice that can change my body shape. As long as I use this practice, then I will not be found, nor will it be found. Quote. Yichu said to Demoto. After Demoto heard Yichu say this, he became a little curious, and then Demoto asked Yichu, Yichu, you really have a practice that can change the body shape? If so, then show that practice and let me take a good look at it. Quote. Demoduo opened his mouth. Yichu nodded after hearing him say this, and then Yichu started to use the exercise. This exercise was obtained by Yichu in the Dragon Ball universe. With this exercise, Yichu also went to the demon universe, and no one discovered it when he was in the demon universe, so the level of this exercise was still 10. Excellent points. Immediately afterwards, Yichu changed his body and turned into a different person. The aura on his body was completely different from before. Demoduo tried his best to look at Yichu, but he really didn't realize that Yichu was a little bit different from before. Sample. Yichu seems to be a different person now. Fortunately, Demoto knew that Yichu had changed. Otherwise, Demoto would not know Yichu's true identity. Yichu is very good. Since you have this technique, maybe you can go out. In this case, the two of us will gradually increase our strength, and when we are strong, we can go out and take revenge. Demoto said. Yichu also nodded, because he felt the same way now. They should be bright and dark, then Demoto should be hiding in the dark, and then Yichu should be hiding in the light. Two people improve their strength together. As long as their strength reaches a certain level, two people will come out. Demoduo, you're right. If that's the case, then I'll go there after a while, because I have this secret method that can change my body shape, so I won't be discovered by anyone. And you hide in this secret room, and then cultivate your own strength. If you need something, I will bring it to you so that you can cultivate well. Yichu opened his mouth. After hearing what Yichu said, Demoto nodded and agreed. Then Yichu and Demoto practiced in this room for a while. Yichu and the others had been cultivating for 3 or 4 days in the basement of this room, and there was no news from outside, so Yichu was relatively relaxed. Yichu changed his body, and then turned into a look that Demodo had never seen before. Good Dimaduo, I went out, and when I went out, I also walked in Wangxi City in this way. Said, Demoduo nodded and agreed. The next moment Yichu was outside the Imperial City, and Yichu repeatedly told Demodo to be in the basement, and Demodo agreed. After Yichu arrived in Wangxi City, he kept inquiring while walking in Wangxi City. He found that there were more masters in Wangxi City than he had imagined. Yichu's heart became a little nervous when he saw this, because although he has changed his shape now, if a master who is much stronger than him sees him, he may be able to see through his change. So Yichu still has to be cautious. 413. Strong. He knows that although he has changed his body shape, he seems to be relatively safe for the time being, but if they stay in Wangxi City, they will be discovered sooner or later. After all, there is still a very powerful master here, that is, in Wangxi City. The first king of the ruler. If Shi Wangjun really finds himself, Yichu can be sure that Shi Wangjun will definitely be able to see through his identity, and then he will likely suffer great danger. At this time, after Yichu wandered in Wangxi City for a while, he also got news that Shi Wangjun should not appear in Wangxi City for a while, and he was constantly in seclusion during this period of time, so it is relatively safe for the time being. After hearing this news, Yichu's heart also became relaxed. Immediately afterwards, Yichu continued to walk in Wangxi City. When Yichu was walking in Wangxi City, he also explored some treasures in Wangxi City, and there were places where he could quickly improve his strength. But after Yichu interrupted and inquired about 817 for a while, he also became a little disappointed, because he hadn't inquired about any place where he could improve his strength relatively quickly, at least not in Wangxi City for the time being. After some time passed, Yichu also brought some things and went back to the basement again. When he returned to the basement, he saw that Demodo was also practicing constantly. There is also some distress in Chu Xin. Yichu, you're back, my strength has improved a bit during this period of time, and didn't I have some injuries before? At this time, my injuries have completely recovered, and my strength is stronger than before. Much stronger. Demodo said. Yichu nodded after hearing Demodo say this, and he felt a little happy for Demodo in his heart. BICC. In the recent period of time, Demodo has been hiding in the basement, Yichu has been walking in Wangxi City, Yichu also brought Demodo all the things Demodo needed. And Demoduo's strength is also constantly improving, because they have some pressure in their hearts, so their strength progress is also 10 points fast. When 2 weeks passed, Yichu became a little surprised. Because of the news circulating in Wangxi City at this time, a treasure land was discovered. I heard that this treasure land has a huge energy. If they can enter this treasure land, maybe their strength can be improved very quickly, Yichu thought. Facing this treasure is also a 10-point heartbeat. Immediately afterwards, Yichu came to the basement and told Demodo the news. After Demodo heard the news, his heart became very excited. There is a treasure land in Wangxi City. This treasure land is also 10 points important for our strength improvement, so we must enter this treasure land. Yichu said to Demodo, and Demodo became a little excited when he heard Yichu say this, but he still had some fears in his heart. Yichu, although this baby brother may improve us a lot, if we go out, we may be discovered quickly. There are many dangers. Demoduo said to Yichu. Yichu agreed a little after hearing Demodo say this. Demoduo said yes, if they went out, there would indeed be a lot of danger, but Yichu felt that if they went out going out, although there are dangers, the opportunities outweigh the dangers, so Yichu still wants to go out. There are indeed dangers when we go out, but the opportunities outweigh the dangers, so I have to go out. Yichu listened to Demodo and said to Demodo, and Demodo shook his head after hearing Yichu say this. Yichu, if you want to go out, then you can go out alone. After all, you have a secret technique for transforming. If I go out, I might be in great danger. Demodo said to Yichu, but Yichu shook his head after hearing Demodo say this. Well, I'll give you a treasure that can temporarily change shape, so that you can transform like me, hide your true identity, and then the two of us will enter that treasure place together. Yichu opened his mouth. Hearing Yichu say this, Demodo's heart also became a little excited. He didn't expect Yichu to say that he could take out another treasure that could change his body shape for him. Generally speaking, this kind of treasure is extremely precious. If Yichu can really give him a treasure that changes his shape, maybe he can enter that treasure land to compete for the chance. 414. Magic Fruit. Yichu, can you really give me another treasure that can change shape? If you really give me a treasure that can change shape, then I'll go to the treasure that I used with you. Fight for chance. Quote. Demodo opened his mouth and said. Yichu nodded in agreement when he heard Demodo say this. Then Yichu stood there, and he instantly turned on the system. After Yichu opened the system, he kept looking for it in the system. After a while, he also found a baby named Phantom Fruit. After eating this Phantom Fruit, he could change his body shape and change into a random shape. Another race. And this Phantom Fruit actually has a 10,000 point exchange point, but when Yichu saw this Phantom Fruit exchange point, they didn't hesitate in his heart, and exchanged all this Phantom Fruit. After Yichu exchanged the Phantom Fruit, he immediately took out the Phantom Fruit. Demoduo, this is what I want to give you. As long as you eat this thing, then you can change into another race, seamless and will not be seen by anyone. Yichu said to Demodo. After Demodo heard Yichu say this, he was also very surprised. He didn't expect Yichu to take out such a thing. This Phantom Fruit is a legendary treasure in the universe. Demodo has also heard of this Phantom Fruit before. This Phantom Fruit can be said to be hard to come by. Demodo is also the first time see. Yichu, how did you get this Phantom Fruit? This Phantom Fruit is also very precious in the universe, and very few people can get it. Demoduo asked Yichu. Don't understand these things about Demoduo. You can eat this illusion fruit. After eating it, you can change into the shape of another race. In this way, you can enter that treasure place with me. Scramble for Pocahontas. Yichu opened his mouth. After hearing Yichu's words, Demodo nodded and agreed. Then Demodo took the Phantom Fruit in Yichu's hand, and then Demodo swallowed the Phantom Fruit. Going down, his stature has also changed. In an instant, I saw that Demodo's figure became a little thinner. He changed from looking relatively strong before to a race that looked very thin. Seeing that he had changed his shape, Demoduo was also very happy in his heart. Haha, Demoduo didn't expect you to become like this, you look thinner than me. Yichu opened his mouth and said that he was relatively thin among many experts. After hearing what Yichu said, Demoduo also glanced at Yichu by. Anyway, I have also changed my body shape now. The size of my body has no effect. At least my combat power is still the same as before. Now we can enter that treasure land to compete for some opportunities. Demodo spoke, and then the two packed up some things, and then they left the basement again. When the two of them left the basement, they also appeared in Wangxi City, and the place where the two of them appeared was also very remote. Yichu, where exactly is the treasure in the imperial city you mentioned? At this time, Demodo looked at Yichu and asked. After Yichu heard Demodo's question, he also turned his gaze to the very center of Shiwangjun. Question mark 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 question mark. And the place Yichu was looking at this time was the treasure temple in Wangxi City. The treasure temple was the place where the rulers of Wangxi City lived. When Demoduo saw Yichu's gaze, he was also very surprised, and he also looked at the treasure temple in Wangxi City. When he saw the treasure temple, Demodo became a little scared in his heart. Yichu, don't tell me that the place where the treasure was found is in the treasure temple in Wangxi City. Demodo asked Yichu. Yichu nodded after hearing Demodo's question. Ellipsis ellipsis ellipsis. Demoduo became a little surprised in his heart. He didn't expect that the place where this treasure was found was actually the treasure temple in Wangxi City. You must know the treasure temple, but the place where the first king lived in Wangxi City. This treasure is in the treasure temple in Wangxi City. Recently, there is no news about Shi Wangjun. Many people say that Shi Wangjun is in retreat in the treasure temple. In my opinion, the appearance of the treasure in this treasure temple is very likely to be related to the first king. Quote. At this time, Yi Chu also expressed his opinion. After hearing Yi Chu say this, Dimaduo also nodded. He felt the same way in his heart now, but it is said that the aura of the treasured place in the treasure temple is very strong. So the two of them had to get in. According to what I have heard, after a while, I heard that the treasure land can really enter it. I am afraid that there will be a lot of masters coming, and the competition will be very intense. Yi Chu said to Dimaduo. Immediately after, the two people bought some things in Wangxi City, and then the two people made all the preparations. Dry. 415. About to enter. Soon a few days passed, and the two arrived around the treasure temple. Yi Chu looked around. Although it didn't look like there were very many people around, Yi Chu knew in his heart that there were actually a lot of masters hidden in the surrounding space. When the time to open the treasure land is up, these masters will probably swarm up and pour into the treasure land. In the treasure temple that Demodo saw, there is a circular portal in the treasure temple, and this portal also exudes a lot of strong energy aura. Even when they stand far away and feel this energy aura, I feel very comfortable in the heart of 330s. I am afraid that as long as they enter this treasure land, their strength will continue to improve. After a period of time, just when the treasure land was about to open, a master also stood up. You must have seen the treasures in the treasure temple, and the treasures are about to be opened at this time, but what exactly is in the treasures, and what kind of dangers there are, we are not very clear now, so I suggest that we join forces now. Together, what do you think? The master said to the surrounding air. He knew in his heart that there were many masters hidden around him. After hearing the master's words, the surrounding space seemed to fluctuate slightly, but no one stood up. This master was wearing a red cloak, and their eyes looked very sharp. His name was Bai Shen. According to the information I have received, the reason why Shi Wangjun has not come out in the recent period is because his cultivation has reached a very important level, and we all know in our hearts that the reason why this treasure land is appearing in the treasure temple is also related to the first king. Quote. Let me tell you, the reason why Shi Wangjun can become Shi Wangjun in Wangxicheng is because he has entered this treasure land once, and this time Shi Wangjun has been seriously injured. When he entered the treasure land and came out, not only will the injury recover, but also the strength will be stronger, so that we will always be under his banner. Quote. Don't you have any ambitions to pursue your own? Don't you want to be the new first king in Wangxi City? So let's join forces, or if we separate, it is very likely that we will fall for Shi Wangjun's plan. Quote. At this time, Bai Shen continued to speak to the surrounding air. Hearing Bai Shen's words, the surrounding air began to vibrate violently, and then several masters showed their bodies. What Bai Shen said really makes sense. Should we come out and cooperate with this Bai Shen first, and then enter this treasure land? At this time, Demodo said to Yi Chu. After Yi Chu heard Demodo say this, he nodded slowly. Bai Shen is indeed right, but he must have his own ideas in his heart, but we don't have to care too much. We will pretend to cooperate with him now, and other people's hearts must be thinking the same way. Because it will only be safer if we join hands, so we can temporarily join forces with him now. Yi Chu spoke, Dimaduo also nodded, and then the two of them showed their bodies. When he saw Yi Chu and Demodo showing their bodies, Bai Shen's eyes twitched slightly, and his strength was also very strong. There is a little anomaly, but at this time, he didn't do much to investigate, because many people have their own secrets. Moreover, Bai Shen can also feel that Demodo and Yi Chu are not weak. If Demodo and Yi Chu join, he may be safer in their line of work, so Bai Shen still feels a little happy. It's great, 2 more masters have joined. In this way, our journey will be safer. Do you still want to team up with me? At this time, Bai Shen continued to speak to the surroundings. After hearing Bai Shen's words, the surrounding masters were also moved. At this time, they also saw Yi Chu and Dimoto. Although Yi Chu and Dimoto didn't seem to be the strongest here, they were undoubtedly much stronger than most people, so many masters followed. They stood up one after another, and seeing these masters stand up, Bai Shen was even more happy in his heart. That's great. If that's the case, this time the operation will definitely be safer in 2.8. Bai Shen said that there were already 200 or 300 experts around him. I also ask everyone to obey my orders after entering this time, and then we will act together. This way, it will definitely be safer. Bai Shen said to the people around him, and when they heard Bai Shen say this, the others nodded in agreement. Then they waited around in the treasure temple, and there were some guards around the treasure temple, but after seeing these masters, they did not dare to block these masters, even if the strength of the masters was relatively weak, and can easily kill them. 416. Heart Eater in the Shadows. Another hour passed, and the portal in the treasure land in the treasure temple suddenly radiated a huge light, and the barriers around the portal began to shatter continuously. At that time, Bai Shen also became happy in his heart. It's available now. Who wants to be the first to enter? When Bai Shen spoke, the people around him became a little hesitant when they heard Bai Shen say this. Although the treasure land looks very good, many people are still a little jealous, but some people just want to fight, and then a master stands up. This person's name is Shaji, and Shaji's strength is also very strong, not much worse than Dimoto, but his wisdom is probably much worse than Dimoto's. When he saw Shaji coming out, Bai Shen also smiled. Yi Chu knew that the first person to go out now must be very dangerous, but Shaji still stood up for 13 years, and he didn't know how he survived. Present. Now the treasure land is in front of us. You are so timid, you dare not enter it, but it is really a joke. People in my generation dare to fight for life with the sky, so I can get a lot of treasures in the end. If you don't dare to enter it now, then I will enter first. Shaji spoke, and then he walked towards the treasure land. After seeing Shaji doing this, other people's hearts were also moved, but they still stood there and watched Shaji's actions. Immediately after, Shaji made it to the portal of the treasure land. After Shaji entered the portal, his heart became a little more relaxed, because he found that the portal did not seem to be in danger, and Shaji became very happy in his heart, and then Shaji twisted over his head. You bunch of shrinking turtles, I have already entered this portal. There is a very strong spiritual energy in this portal. I feel that my strength is improving all the time now, and you are still outside. Is ridiculous. When Shaji said this, many people became a little embarrassed and angry, and then someone wanted to walk towards this portal, and at this moment, Yi Chu's pupils shrank. Yi Chu saw that there seemed to be a black shadow flashing through the portal, and then a huge blood hole suddenly appeared in Shaji's chest. Shaji seemed to feel something abnormal on his body. He slowly lowered his head and found that a blood hole appeared in his chest, and blood was constantly flowing out, and the heart in his chest turned out to be abnormal. Wing and fly. When he saw this, Shaji became extremely panicked, and then an extremely powerful dizziness rushed towards Shaji, and then Shaji fell to the ground with a plop and died completely. When they saw this scene, everyone present became a little terrified. Before, many people almost entered the portal. And at this time, seeing Shaji's end like this, they began to be glad that they didn't enter the portal just now. Don't panic everyone, I have seen it just now. The heart eaters inside the portal are not very powerful, but the real danger is that they are gregarious animals, so we just need to unite to enter and defend together. If you do, you can defend against these heart-devouring beasts, and then you can go deep inside. Quote. At this time, Bai Shen suddenly said loudly. After hearing Bai Shen's words, some people also suddenly realized that many of them have also heard of the name of the heart eater, so if they think about it, it is very likely that it is the heart eater. If they join hands, they can indeed defend against the attack of the heart eater. Immediately after, they had already walked into the portal, and after a few seconds passed, a lot of black shadows suddenly appeared, and the surrounding masters also cheered up their spirits. These heart-eaters look like bats, but their teeth are exposed. Their 980 eyes are blood red, and they also have some barbs. Their name is heart-eaters. When Yi Chu rushed over in these heart-devouring beast legends, Yi Chu also waved the long sword in his hand. The long sword in Yi Chu's hand was not his previous divine sword, because Yi Chu's divine sword was owned by many people. It was familiar, so Yi Chu chose another long sword as his equipment at this time. But after some time passed, Yi Chu still put away the long sword, because he felt that the long sword was not very comfortable to use. Yi Chu started to attack with his own hands. He kept releasing all kinds of vitality bombs from his hands. Each of these vitality bombs was very powerful, killing all the heart-devouring beasts that came towards him. Kill. After seeing Yi Chu's vitality bomb, Bai Shen was also a little surprised. He didn't expect Yi Chu to release such a huge vitality bomb, and he was a little impressed by Yi Chu. 417. Bai Shen's greed. Others around were also attacking these heart-eater beasts, and after seeing that they couldn't break through their attacks, these heart-eater beasts stopped attacking them. After seeing these heart-devouring beasts scattered, the hearts of the people around them became somewhat relaxed. If these heart-devouring beasts kept attacking, many of them would probably die. These heart-devouring beasts have retreated, so we can continue to move towards the treasure land now. As long as we continue to move forward into the treasure land, maybe we can get some more benefits. Now we have only just entered this treasure, but our bodies can feel that we are constantly getting stronger, so as long as we go to the deepest part, we will definitely get more benefits. At this time, Bai Shen said, and after hearing Bai Shen say this, the others nodded in agreement, and they really felt that way in their hearts. After Bai Shen took everyone forward for a while, they became a little surprised, because at this time there were some buildings in front of them. Their vision was generally broadened, and they actually entered a large hall. There wasn't much in the hall, and it looked very empty. After walking into the hall, Yi Chu's heart suddenly became a little nervous. Because in the past, the treasure land looked a bit like a natural place, but this hall was artificially constructed at first glance. Moreover, Yi Chu faintly felt that the time when this hall was built was not too far away from now, so Yi Chu instantly connected the entire hall to the first king. Some people also thought of this, and they looked very nervous, but after some time passed, a master walked around for a while, and his heart suddenly became happy. This master will discover a very precious treasure, which is very precious even if it is placed in the universe, especially the strength of this master is not so strong. This master originally planned to take this treasure into his arms so that others would not find it, but in an instant, it was seen by others. Just when the master put away the treasure, Bai Shen also rushed over, patted the master, and slapped the master's back with one palm. Then the master died all of a sudden, and the treasure he was holding also fell out. After everyone looked at the treasure that fell out of the master's arms, their eyes became a little brighter. It turned out to be a moonstone. Diaresis. A master said that he knew in his heart that the moonstone of the moonstone is also a very precious treasure in the universe. If anyone can get the moonstone, their strength will be greatly improved, and their physique will also be improved a lot. When everyone saw the moonstone, their hearts became a little excited. When Yi Chu saw the moonstone, his heart moved slightly. He found that he had seen the moonstone in his exchange shop. Moonstone has more than 5,000 exchange points that can be exchanged. In Yi Chu's heart, he felt that the person who created the system might have also come to the universe, otherwise he would not be able to create something exactly the same as the universe. This treasure is very precious to us. Everyone entered this place together, so this treasure should be our common property. He actually wanted to swallow this moonstone alone. Fortunately, I killed him. Now, does anyone else have an opinion? At this time, Bai Shen also saw the people around him, and his eyes glanced at Dimaduo and Yi Chu. Dimodo and Yi Chu didn't have any other ideas. After Bai Shen saw that Demodo and Yi Chu didn't have other ideas, his heart became a little happy. Others saw Yi Chu and Demo. After having no other thoughts, Du shook his head. Bai Shen, you are right, this thing is indeed our public property, and you have no complaints after killing him. At this time, there was also a master who said this. After hearing the master say this, Bai Shen also nodded, and his heart became a little joyful. Okay, Shin scrambles what? If that's the case, then I'll take this moonstone first, and I'll sell it after I go out, and then the property sold will be equally distributed to all of us. At this time, Bai Shen said, and then he took the moonstone and peeled it. Although some people felt a little uncomfortable about this, they didn't say much. Everyone felt in their hearts that they knew that Bai Shen would take this moonstone down, and he would definitely swallow this moonstone in the end. But they also do not have enough ability to compete for this moonstone. More importantly, there are probably some other dangers or treasures around them. 418. The Conspiracy of the First King. At this time, some people felt that the energy in their bodies seemed to be a little disordered, and Yi Chu also felt a very chaotic aura coming towards his body at this time. Bang bang bang. Immediately afterwards, there were many people, their bodies began to swell, their complexions changed greatly, and then someone exploded all at once. Their blood spilled onto the floor of the hall, as if absorbed by the entire floor. Yi Chu became a little surprised when he saw this scene, and Demodo's complexion changed greatly after seeing this scene. Up. Because Demodo hopes that his vision is also very broad, Demodo has already recognized the reason for this scene before, because this hall is a formation. This one we have now fallen into a formation, this formation should be arranged by someone, so he really doesn't know that this formation just wants us to enter it, and then sacrifice us all. At this time, Demodo said that after hearing Demodo's words 883, Bai Shen's complexion also changed. Although Bai Shen's strength may be higher than that of the boy, Bai Shen does not know the news about this big formation, but he is also very vigilant in his heart. After hearing Demodo say this at this time, Bai Shen is also in his heart. This is indeed the case, because he feels in his heart that this hall really wants to sacrifice all of them. There are people's bodies constantly being shattered, and the blood in the body will be completely absorbed by this hall, and after everyone sees such a scene, they also become very frightened in their hearts. Yi Chu looked around, and he felt in his heart that there might be some powerful master hiding around him. If this master was hiding, he thought about sacrificing all of them, and then reap the benefits of the fisherman. The first king. It must be the first king. The first king should be hiding around now, looking at all of us, he just wants to sacrifice all of us. I remember that there was a legend circulating in the past. I heard that the first king was the one who killed all the contenders at that time, and then became the real first king. At this time, someone spoke, and after hearing their words, the surrounding masters became even more frightened. They kept walking around, but there was no way to do it. They had a hole coming in before. At this time, Bai Shen also looked at the back, and his face became very gloomy, because at this time, Bai Shen didn't find any openings in the back, which meant that the entrance they came in had been blocked. Now that you know that I have led you into the sacrificial formation, it can be said that this treasure is sealed. If all of you enter and die, no one outside will know, and no one will know, yes, I seduce you and kill you. At this time, some voices came from all around the hall. After hearing this voice, Bai Shen's expression also became nervous, because Bai Shen also heard who the voice was. Bai Shen knew that this was the voice. The voice of the first king. Prince King, it really is you who brought all of us here, just want to sacrifice all of us here, and then accomplish your great cause. At this time, Bai Shen raised his head and said to the surroundings. Bai Shen knew that Shi Wangjun was hiding around. Bai Shen had seen Shi Wangjun before. In fact, he also had some ambitions in his heart. The status of the king is also very rude to the first king. Bai Shen, I have long known that you are very peeping at my status, so this time I also want to lure you over and deliberately kill you. Your strength can't be compared to mine at all, You still want my status, and you don't know where you got the courage. Now all of you are here, and all of you come here knowing that this place it belongs to me, and dare to come here, then I will kill all of you, and I will not have any complaints in my heart." Quote. The voice of Shi Wangjun came from all around, and Shi Wangjun's words also proved that he was indeed Shi Wangjun. At this time, Yi Chu's face also became a little gloomy. Yi Chu didn't expect that the first king was hiding here. Although he had thought about some worse situations, what happened now is undoubtedly the worst situation. "Yi Chu, what should we do now? If this situation continues, I'm afraid we will all be sacrificed." Dimoto also walked to Yi Chu's side, and then whispered to Yi Chu. Hearing Dimoto's words, Yi Chu also fell silent, but at this time Yi Chu was not so panicked. "I thought they could escape after all. Don't worry, I will definitely take you out safely," Yi Chu said to Dimoto. After Dimoto heard Yi Chu say this, he nodded and fell silent. 419. Upside Down Sacrifice Array. Although Yi Chu has always been creating miracles, Dimoto's heart was still a little gloomy at this time, and he felt that they didn't seem to have much chance to escape. Although their strength has improved a lot recently, there is still a huge gap compared with the strength of Shi Wangjun. During this period of time, Yi Chu's strength has also improved a lot, but he has not fully demonstrated his strength. System tilde, open the exchange store. At this time, Yi Chu also opened the exchange shop. After Yi Chu opened the system, he also found some things in the system. He felt that he could exchange a treasure in the system, and then use this treasure to open this sacrificial big array. After some time passed, Yi Chu's heart became a little happy. He found a treasure. As long as he used this treasure, he could break the trap. The name of this treasure was called the Upside Down Rune. Exchange the Upside Down Rune. Immediately after, Yi Chu issued this order. The exchange point for the reverse rune was 15,000 points, but Yi Chu didn't feel any pain in his heart. Yi Chu felt in his heart that only if they exchanged the reverse rune, they would be able to survive this time. Yi Chu looked at the introduction of the reverse rune. The introduction of the reverse rune is that the reverse rune can make the big formation work in reverse. If the big formation is reversed, that means the current sacrificial formation can be in turn, make sacrifices to the first king. In that case, it would be able to cause a lot of serious injuries to the first king, and Yi Chu would also be able to obtain the power of sacrifice from the first king. You must know that Shi Wangjun's strength is incomparably high, so Yi Chu felt that if he could absorb Shi Wangjun's spiritual power, perhaps his strength could be improved a lot in an instant. In this way, he can not only defeat Shi Wangjun, but also monopolize all the benefits of this place. The key to everything now is whether the inversion talisman that Yi Chu exchanged can reverse the sacrificial formation in the hall. At this time, Dimoto's heart was a mess, but he suddenly saw Yi Chu, and he became a little surprised, because Dimoto found out whether Yi Chu seemed very relaxed before, but now Yi Chu his complexion looked much lighter. Dimoto thought in his heart that maybe Yi Chu had found a solution to their current predicament. Yi Chu, what should we do now to solve the current predicament? At this time, Dimoto also turned his eyes to Yi Chu and asked. After hearing Dimoto's question, Yi Chu also nodded, and then he said softly to Dimoto, "Dimoto, you only need to do it. Just watch me do it." Quote. Dimoto inexplicably became a little relaxed in his heart, and then Dimoto looked at Yi Chu carefully. At this time, Yi Chu was standing in an inconspicuous corner of the crowd. Yi Chu moved his body a few times. When Yi Chu moved his body, he was also discovered by the first king. In fact, at this time, it was said that Shi Wangjun was hidden in the sky outside the hall. Shi Wangjun could see Yi Chu and all of them, but Yi Chu and the others could not see Shi Wangjun. This is also the beauty of this sacrifice formation. There seems to be something odd about this kid. He should be hiding his real body. I don't know what kind of identity he has and why he is hiding his real body. At this time, King Shi looked at Yi Chu and thought in his heart, but when he thought so, he did not immediately target Yi Chu, because he felt that Yi Chu would die in less than a few minutes. He would die, so he didn't care about Yi Chu's actions now. Question mark 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 question mark. Yi Chu walked around erratically, but in fact he walked 10 minutes regularly. After some time, Yi Chu stood at the most important part of the hall, and the most important part of the hall was also the person who made the sacrifice formation. Array of hearts. 1/3 of the masters around have been sacrificed. The airflow in their bodies began to become a little disordered, and then they exploded on the spot. At this time, King Shi also turned his gaze to Yi Chu. At this moment, he suddenly saw Yi Chu take out the upside-down talisman, and when he saw Yi Chu holding the upside-down talisman, Shi Wangjun also looked at Yi Chu. Shrinking sharply. 0. For some reason, seeing Yi Chu holding the upside-down talisman, the first king felt a sense of panic in his heart, as if the next moment, the upside-down talisman would deal a very powerful blow to him. Although I don't know why, Shi Wangjun is still extremely nervous, because Shi Wangjun's sixth sense has always been very accurate, so he has such a feeling at this time, and he thinks in his heart that maybe Yi Chu the upside-down rune may really deal a big blow to him. So the first king also showed his figure, and wanted to attack Yi Chu, and wanted to personally grab the upside-down rune in Yi Chu's hand. However, before it was too late, Yi Chu suddenly took out the upside-down talisman, and then took the upside-down talisman and stuck it to the center of the sacrificial formation. When the upside-down talisman was stuck to the ground, the entire hall seemed to have changed a bit, and everyone felt a sense of relief in their hearts, as if the attraction of this great formation to their sacrifices had also disappeared. Small. 420. The power of sacrifice. At this time, Shi Wangjun felt that the blood in his body seemed to be out of control, and his blood continued to pour out of the body along with the energy. There were many cracks in his body, densely covering his body. Shi Wangjun felt as if he had been severely injured for a moment, and the next moment Shi Wangjun spurted out a mouthful of blood. "You, what the hell did you do to me?" At this time, Shi Wangjun's expression became very frightened. Looking at Yi Chu, he said, Shi Wangjun finally revealed his figure, because the sacrifice formation in this hall had already been reversed by Yi Chu. Therefore, the first king, 480, can no longer hide his figure. The masters around also saw Shi Wangjun one after another, and when they saw Shi Wangjun, they also became a little shocked in their hearts. They looked at the state of Shi Wangjun, and their hearts were slightly stunned, because they found that Shi Wangjun's state was very bad. Shi Wangjun was also spitting blood constantly, and he seemed to be seriously injured in an instant. Like other masters, Bai Shen turned his gaze to Yi Chu. They found that Yi Chu was holding an upside-down talisman in his hand. It was also because when Yi Chu pressed the upside-down talisman on the floor of the hall, before the sacrifice formation seems to have begun to disappear. It's Yi Chu. Yi Chu reversed this sacrificial formation. At this time, Bai Shen said, and after hearing Bai Shen say this, the others became excited. In the past, they might have died the next moment, but Yi Chu didn't know how to reverse this sacrificial formation. In this case, maybe they will say that they can fight against Shi Wangjun. Bai Shen also raised his head and looked at Shi Wangjun. There was something about him in his heart. They may have said that they were desperate before, but they didn't expect that there would be a turning point. Shi Wangjun has been staring at Yi Chu closely, but he didn't see him, and then Bai Shen's heart became a little angry. Yi Chu, although I don't know how you reversed this great formation, I am still very grateful to you in my heart. Leave the rest to me. I will let Shi Wangjun kill, and then give us all. There is only one way to live. Quote. At this time, Bai Shen also raised his head like this and said. After Yi Chu heard Bai Shen say this, he didn't say much, and Bai Shen also turned his head to look at Shi Wangjun. First king, your next opponent is me, welcome death. Bai Shen opened his mouth, and in an instant, Bai Shen attacked Shi Wangjun. At this time, Shi Wangjun also waved his hand and slapped Bai Shen. Prince King Shi, how dare you look down on me so much? If that's the case, let you know how good I am. Bai Shen thought in his heart, and then he attacked Shi Wangjun, and the attacks of the two collided. When Bai Shen and Shi Wangjun's attacks collided, he saw that Bai Shen was like a meteor shower, smashing down towards the floor of the hall at a rapid speed. Bai Shen smashed to the floor at once, and his body was seriously injured in an instant, with blood constantly spitting out of his mouth. I haven't looked at you for a long time. You can never be compared to me. Even if I'm seriously injured, I can slap you to death like a fly. At this time, King Shiwang Junction glanced at Bai Shen coldly and said. After hearing Shi Wangjun say this, Bai Shen's heart became even more painful, and then Bai Shen spat out a mouthful of blood again. He knew in his heart that there was a big gap between himself and Shi Wangjun, but now he did not expect that the gap between himself and Shi Wangjun was so huge. Although Shi Wangjun was seriously injured at this time, he was still easily defeated. Demodo stood in the distance, and his expression became a little dejected, because at this time, the strength of the first king still seemed to be extremely strong, and the hearts of others were still extremely desperate. Because Bai Shen, the strongest among them, was slapped into the distance by Shi Wangjun. At this time, Yi Chu stood there, his eyes still seemed very calm. This feeling is simply too sour. Yi Chu spoke lightly. At this time, he did not look directly at Shi Wangjun. He felt that his body was very comfortable. Because the previous sacrifice formation at 4.1 also sacrificed a lot of masters, and the energy of masters was absorbed by Shi Wangjun before, but after this sacrifice formation was reversed by Yi Chu, these energies were also rushed towards Shang Yi Chu. At this time, the sacrificial formation continued to exert sacrificial power on Shi Wangjun. A lot of energy in Shi Wangjun's body is also flowing into Yi Chu's body continuously. The energy in Shi Wangjun's body is undoubtedly incomparably powerful. After entering Yi Chu's body, Yi Chu's strength is also rapidly improved. 421. The First King of the Fierce Battle. At this time, the others looked at Yi Chu, and their eyes gradually regained the light of hope, because at this time they felt that the energy in Yi Chu's body was increasing at a very terrifying speed. In a short period of time, Yi Chu's breath has increased tenfold, and it is still increasing, and he does not know where the limit is. I planned very well this time. Everyone would die in my hands. I didn't expect that my plan would be disrupted because of your appearance. I can see it now. I don't know what method you used. Reverse my sacrificial formation. But it doesn't matter. Although your strength is not very weak because of the big formation, it is still everything to me. As long as I ask you to kill, these 14 sacrificial powers will still return to me. In the body, I can still sacrifice these people at that time. Quote. At this time, Lord Shi Wang opened his mouth and said. Yi Chu also raised his head to look at Lord Shi when he heard that. If that's the case, then let me see how the strength of the famous first king is different. At this time, Yi Chu raised his head and said to the first king. After hearing what Yi Chu said, Shi Wangjun felt even more angry in his heart, and then Shi Wangjun attacked Yi Chu. He wanted to kill Yi Chu immediately. The two immediately attacked together. The first king's strength dropped a lot, but Yi Chu's strength improved a lot. What's more, Yi Chu was good at attacking the strong with the weak, so when the two of them attacked together, although Yi Chu seemed to be a little bit at a disadvantage, but he did not show any defeat. As the famous Shi Wangjun only with such strength. If you have such strength, don't try to defeat me. At this time, Yi Chu opened his mouth and said, after hearing what Yi Chu said, Shi Wangjun became a little cold in his heart, and then Shi Wangjun also attacked Yi Chu again, and his power seemed to be even more powerful. Yi Chu didn't feel much of you in his heart. The power of the devil. At this moment, Shi Wangjun suddenly shouted loudly. Did a very evil aura suddenly appear on his body, and Shi Wangjun's strength also increased at a rapid rate. Yi Chu's heart froze slightly when he saw Shi Wangjun like this. He didn't expect Shi Wangjun to have such a move, and when the people around saw Shi Wangjun use this move, their expressions also changed greatly. Stand up. I didn't expect that the famous Shi Wangjun turned out to be a powerhouse of evil. At this time, someone said, because the strong people of the evil way are also hated by everyone in the universe. Evil Dao powerhouses are very mysterious. They are also hidden in the universe, and their purpose is to cause some damage to the universe. I didn't expect the famous Shi Wangjun to be a member of the Evil Dao powerhouse. And they also have one of their own talents as evil powers. They can transform with the power of the devil. After using the power of the devil, their strength will also increase a lot. Shi Wangjun looks even more terrifying, and his aura is also very powerful. Yes, what you said is not wrong. I am indeed a powerhouse of the evil way, and I can transform at this time. No one will know that I am a powerhouse of the evil way, because I will kill you all. In this case, I will still you can be my first king, and my position will be stronger. Quote. At this time, Shi Wangjun opened his mouth and said, after hearing Shi Wangjun say this, other hearts also became a little panic. Because Shi Wangjun's affairs can be said to have improved several times, they felt that Yi Chu didn't have any chance of winning for me. It seems that we still have to die this time. If we knew earlier that we would not be greedy for this benefit, we would have entered this treasure land. Some experts said that Bai Shen was lying on the floor of the hall at 9:20, and his expression also looked very desperate. At this time, he had given up any struggle in his heart, because when he fought against Shi Wangjun before, Shi Wangjun only had to use one move, and he easily defeated him. Bai Shen was hit by an extremely powerful blow. He now felt as if his dream had been completely shattered. And when he raised his head and saw Yi Chu who was fighting against Shi Wangjun in the air, there seemed to be a slight light flickering in his eyes. Yi Chu's expression was still very calm, because all of this was in his calculations. When Shi Wangjun attacked Yi Chu again, suddenly a dazzling sword light flashed, like a big dragon, charging towards Shi Wangjun. And Shi Wangjun also felt a sense of crisis. When he was attacked by the big formation before, he felt some threats, but at this time, he suddenly felt the crisis again. 422. Beheading the First King. Shi Wangjun didn't dare to relax at all in his heart, and then Shi Wangjun gave up attacking Yi Chu and started to defend with all his strength. He seemed to see a red blood dragon attacking him in front of him, and this blood dragon also had an incomparably huge momentum. Yi Chu had already taken out the Excalibur in his hand, and immediately attacked Shi Wangjun's defense. Shi Wangjun's defense seemed to be intact, but Shi Wangjun's heart became extremely shocked. Crack clap. Shi Wangjun looked at the defensive shield in front of him, only to find that there were countless cracks on the defensive shield in front of him, which were also broken by Yi Chu with his own Excalibur. How is that possible? Shi Wangjun opened his mouth, and then a fiery red Excalibur pierced through the defense displayed in front of him, and then stabbed into his chest. And when Yi Chu's Excalibur stabbed Shi Wangjun's chest, Shi Wangjun also felt incomparably severe pain in an instant. He felt the life in his body flowing like a tide, and soon there's no strength left. You are. At this time, Shi Wangjun also recognized Yi Chu in an instant. He also obtained some information on the Excalibur in Yi Chu's hand before, so Shi Wangjun could recognize the sword in Yi Chu's hand. Excalibur. After Yi Chu found that Shi Wangjun had recognized it, he put a force on his hand, and then stabbed his Excalibur into Shi Wangjun's heart fiercely. Shi Wangjun turned his head, and he was already utterly dead. At this time, the people below were still staring at Yi Chu, dumbfounded. They did not expect that in just this moment, Yi Chu had already turned the corner and completely killed the first king. Yi Chu was holding the divine sword in his hand. At this time, he was standing in the air, his eyes were all over the place. Dead. Shi Wangjun is actually dead. The first king was actually killed by Yi Chu. Everyone was thinking this way, and they felt extremely shocked in their hearts. When they were extremely desperate, Yi Chu stood up, but when everyone still felt that it was impossible to live here, Yi Chu actually killed the first king. The energy in Shi Wangjun's body, under the influence of the reversal sacrificial formation, also rushed towards Yi Chu in an instant. Yi Chu quietly closed his eyes. Everyone below was watching Yi Chu, and they found that Yi Chu's aura was still rising. In this short period of time, Yi Chu's strength had doubled. After some time, Yi Chu opened his eyes. There was a fierce light flashing in his eyes. During this time, Yi Chu's strength also improved a lot. At this time, Bai Shen was lying on the ground, and he also cheered up his spirit. After seeing Yi Chu open his eyes, Bai Shen also ran towards Yi Chu immediately. He lowered his head and looked at him. Yi Chu had a somewhat pleasing look. Yi Chu, I really didn't expect you to be so powerful. Before I came in, I wanted to be the boss. You are the most powerful person among us. We got a moonstone before, now I'll give you this moonstone. You deserve it, all of us are deeply grateful to you. After you go out, it will be useful to all of us when you are a human being, all of us will help you too. Quote. At this time, Bai Shen said to Yi Chu. After hearing what Bai Shen said, Yi Chu gave Bai Shen a cold look. After Bai Shen saw Yi Chu giving him a cold look, he had a sense of danger in his heart, and he was even more in awe of Yi Chu, and immediately took out the moonstone and handed it to Yi Chu. Yi Chu also taking the moonstone, he didn't say much. Yi Chu looked at Demodo. When Yi Chu saw Demodo, Demodo's eyes were full of admiration for Yi Chu, and he was very surprised. Immediately afterwards, Yi Chu walked towards Demodo. There were many experts around who were constantly grateful to Yi Chu, and they looked at Yi Chu with great respect. After all, this is an era when the strong were respected, and Yi Chu's strength is now so strong. Soon Yi Chu walked to Demodo's side. When Yi Chu walked to Demodo's side, Demodo also looked very happy. Good Li Jiao. After all, Tong has now survived. Because of Yi Chu's reasons, Demodo also gained a lot of benefits this time. Quote. Yi Chu is so good, I didn't expect you to kill Shi Wangjun and reverse the formation. I can't imagine it. Demodo said to Yi Chu. Yi Chu nodded after hearing Demodo say this. Well, now that we've got a lot of benefits, let's get out of here quickly. Yi Chu said to Demoduo, because he felt that although he had killed the first king, the news would probably spread soon, and after the news spread, it would also attract the attention of many experts. 423. Escape to the starry sky. After those more powerful experts notice them, their identities will probably be exposed, and they will also encounter some dangers. But at this time, Yi Chu wasn't too worried. Even if there were experts who came to intercept them, he wasn't too worried. Because in this experience, Yi Chu's strength can be said to have increased tenfold, so even if a master of the realm like Shi Wangjun intercepts his words, Yi Chu believes that it is impossible for him to be caught. However, they were afraid that there might be more powerful masters than Shi Wangjun to catch them, so Yi Chu and Demoduo had to leave here immediately. Demoduo also nodded when he heard Yi Chu say this. He also knew what Yi Chu was thinking. Do you want Yi Chu to kill all these masters in the field? Now you and I can be said to be the strongest in the field, so if we want to kill these people, it is very easy. Demoduo opened his mouth and said that the reason why he said this was because he was afraid that the news of Yi Chu would spread, and he was also worried that if someone found out Yi Chu's true identity of 820, they would be in danger. Faster. Without Demodo, they can't recognize our identity, so there is no need to kill them or not. Let's leave here first. Yi Chu opened his mouth, and when Yi Chu said this, Demodo nodded helplessly, and then the two of them left the place under the eyes of everyone. After the two people came out of this place, they also went to the treasured temple of Shi Wangjun, and Demoduo's eyes lit up when they walked to the treasured temple of Shi Wangjun. There are also many treasures in Shi Wangjun's treasure temple. In the past, no one dared to take these treasures in Shiwang Junbao temple, but at this time, Shi Wangjun is already dead, so they will definitely not let it go. Of these things, Demoduo, the two of us BIFG, picked up all the more precious treasures in the temple of the first King Junbao, and left this place immediately. Yi Chu opened his mouth, hearing Yi Chu say this, Demoduo nodded in surprise, and then the two of them collected all the treasures in the treasure temple at an extremely fast speed. At this time, there were still experts flying out of the treasure land. When those experts flew out of the treasure land, they also saw Yi Chu and Demoduo holding the treasures in the temple of the first King Junbao. Although they had some in their hearts jealous, but they didn't dare to fight. Because they had also seen Yi Chu's strength before, so they thought about it and left here without competing for these things. Yi Chu and Dimaduo took away all the treasures here very quickly, and then the two walked towards the outside. Soon the two of them had already left Wangxi City. After the two of them left Wangxi City, they also walked towards a relatively remote place. According to the news Yi Chu learned in Wangxi City recently, if they kept flying from this place, the two of them could leave this universe, and when the two left this universe, they could go to another universe. Incognito inside. As long as we find a relatively remote universe and enter it, those experts will most likely not be able to find us. Yi Chu said to Demodo, and after hearing Yi Chu say this, Demodo also nodded. And when the two of them left Wangxi City, what happened in Wangxi City also spread in this universe at a very fast speed, and even spread some in 3,000 universes. Shi Wangjun can be said to be the most powerful master in this universe, but Yi Chu actually beheaded Shi Wangjun in this universe. This news made the 3,000 universes of the universe become a little shaken, and in this universe the people of this place were even more shocked. They couldn't imagine that the most powerful Shi Wangjun in their universe was actually beheaded. Immediately afterwards, a very powerful person observed Yi Chu and Demodo, and the images they obtained were also images of Yi Chu and Demodo after changing their bodies. But for these relatively powerful people, when I saw the images of Shi Wangjun and Yi Chu changing their bodies, their expressions changed, because some experts could tell at a glance that Yi Chu and Dimaduo were changing. Live your own body shape, not with your own original appearance. Who the hell are these two people? Why are they hiding their faces? With an extremely powerful master, I thought in my heart. Give me to investigate the identities of these two people immediately, and make sure to find out their true identities. Immediately, he said to the masters with very high status, and they also had some guesses in their hearts. In the past, I heard that there was a Saiyan in this universe, and that Saiyan was also hunted by many masters, but they did not get that. Any news about Saiyans, as if two Saiyans disappeared in this universe. 424. Enter the mysterious planet. Logically speaking, there should be no such powerful masters as Yi Chu and Demoduo in Wangxi City. However, at this time, two such powerful masters suddenly appeared, and they also called Shi Wangjun beheaded, and the two are still hiding their true identities, so it's no wonder that they are the hunted Saiyans and friends of the Saiyans. After some time passed, the investigation materials were also presented. After seeing the information from the investigation, those big figures with high status finally confirmed it in their hearts. Damn, these two people who killed Shi Wangjun are the Saiyans we captured. I didn't expect them to be hidden in Wangxi City all the time. We always thought they would hide in a relatively remote place. I didn't expect them to hide in the most lively place in this universe, and they even entered Wangxi City and killed the first king. Really hateful. A big man said, and he was very angry in his heart, and then they began to give another order of their own. Send someone out for me immediately and continue to look for clues about Yi Chu and Demodo. Be sure to catch them both. If you want this kind of Demodo, it is very likely that they are Saiyans. As long as Demodo can be caught, everyone can get a great reward. Some big people said, and even some big people set out to find Yi Chu and Demodo in person, but at this time Yi Chu and Demodo had already left the universe and entered the starry sky. The starry sky in the universe realm was incomparably vast, wider than any starry sky Yi Chu had seen before, and there were more beautiful sights inside. Yi Chu was also wandering in the starry sky in the universe world for the first time. After some time, Yi Chu and Demoduo saw a very remote planet in the universe world. They were also the only joy in their hearts. Because it seems that there are not many masters on this planet. There are also many beautiful natural scenes on this planet. However, there are no masters on this planet. When Yi Chu saw this scene, Yi Chu's heart froze slightly, because he felt that this planet was probably born. Not long after the planet, this planet can also be said to be a juvenile planet. Dimaduo, the two of us went into this planet. This planet looks very beautiful, and there are not many experts on this planet. Both safety and comfort are very good. I feel there may be some more precious places on this planet that are worth exploring. Quote. Yichu said to Demodo. After Demodo heard Yichu say this, his heart moved slightly, and he nodded, agreeing with Yichu's statement. Yichu, you are right, there seem to be some hidden treasures on this planet, and if we get to this planet, we don't seem to be easily discovered. It seems that there is a hidden function on this planet. Quote. Demoduo spoke, Yichu nodded, and then the two agreed, and the two quickly flew towards this week. When the two of them approached the planet, they also became a little surprised, because the two seemed to be approaching the planet quickly, but the planet still seemed to be far away from them. Sure enough, this planet is not simple. Quote question mark 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 question mark. Yichu opened his mouth, but he didn't feel panic in his heart. Yichu still felt a sense of surprise in her heart, because if this planet was not simple, it was possible to get more benefits from it. And this planet has its own hidden functions, so if they go to this planet, it may be safer. After Yichu and Demoduo studied for a period of time, they finally cracked the natural hiding formation outside this planet, and the two of them also entered this planet. After entering the two planets, the two immediately found a relatively remote place to hide their figure, because they knew that there must be many big people looking for them now. 0. Then Yichu and Demoduo began to hide here. They chose a peak that reached the sky, then entered the interior of the mountain, and arranged some formations outside to make the surrounding look very calm and normal. And the outer world of the universe can be said to be turbulent, and what they have done before is also constantly circulating, which makes many people feel very shocked inside, and they are even more nervous about their search. But because Yichu and Demoduo were hiding in this mysterious planet and never came out, they were not found any clues, and the outside world did not find any clues about them for a period of time, but gradually start to relax looking for them. It's been such a long time, maybe the outside world's arrest of us has eased a little bit, and now maybe we can come out. After some time passed, Yichu stood on the surface of this planet and looked at the starry sky outside, and said lightly. Corpse. 425. The Great Array in the Planet. Yichu and Yamosi entered this big mountain. After the two of them entered this big mountain, they immediately began to cultivate, and Yichu also arranged some restrictions around this big mountain. The strength of the two of them quickly increased, and Yichu also brought out a lot of treasures. These were obtained when he killed those people before, and this time it also played a big role. The strength of Yichu and Yamosi has been increasing rapidly, almost at a speed that is visible to the naked eye. After a few months have passed, the strength of Yichu and Yamosi has increased several times compared to the previous time. However, Yichu didn't satisfy, 377, and he was still constantly improving his strength. More than a month passed before Yichu stopped improving his own strength, because at this time his strength would not improve much. So Yichu slowly opened his eyes. When he opened his eyes, he found that Yamosi was still cultivating, but Yamosi found that Yichu also opened his eyes after waking up. Although Yamosi was still a cultivator before, but Yamosi's cultivation speed has slowed down a lot over the past period of time, so Yamosi is also looking for other opportunities. Yichu, when we came to this planet, we found that there must be a lot of secrets hidden on this planet. Now our cultivation base can't be improved quickly, so we are looking for something else on this planet. The secret is hidden. Yamosi said to Yichu. Yichu nodded after hearing what Yamosi said, and he thought the same thing in his heart. Just as Yichu was about to stand up, his heart suddenly shivered slightly, because he felt that there seemed to be some faint fluctuations flashing at the bottom of this mountain. When Yichu sensed this weak fluctuation, his heart was already beating rapidly. He had not felt this rapid beating for a long time. With such a feeling, Yichu felt in his heart that it must be because of the discovery of a very precious place. Why Yichu? I found something wrong with your expression, did you find something? Yamosi asked Yichu. After hearing what Yamosi said, Yichu also nodded. There seems to be something wrong with this underground. You stand here and I'll go down and take a look. Yichu said to Yamosi. Yichu hesitated and nodded after saying this. Yichu nodded after seeing Yamozi nodding, and then his figure quickly disappeared in place, and his speed was 100,000 to teleport towards the center of the earth. At the beginning of the dive, it seemed that 4 weeks was a normal score of 10, but after some time passed, Yichu's heart became a little surprised. Because at this time he was actually blocked. Logically speaking, Yichu would not have been greatly hindered, but at this time he felt that there was a huge formation blocking him in front of him. When Yichu was surprised, he thought that this planet was born naturally, and felt that there were no masters in it, but at this time he actually encountered a very powerful formation, and this formation was not natural. The formation method is arranged by a very powerful expert. Even I can't set up this formation now. I can't set up such a formation, but if you want to crack it, you might be able to crack it as long as you spend some time. But it's not a solution for me to stay in this place alone and break this formation. Now I'll go up and tell Yamozi the news. Yichu thought for a while, so his figure quickly appeared in the cave they built inside the mountain. After Yamozi saw Yichu appear, his expression became a little surprised, only to realize that Yichu's expression seemed to be a little surprised. Looking at your expression, Yichu seems to have found something unusual in the ground. What happened in your ground? Can you tell me about it? Yamozi asked Yichu. Yichu nodded after hearing what Yamozi said, and then Yichu started talking to Yamozi. After hearing Yichu's remarks, Yamozi was also 10 points of surprise in his heart. He didn't expect that there seemed to be no masters, but there was a powerful artificial formation in the innermost part of the planet. I didn't expect that there is a very powerful formation at the bottom of planet 1.4. If that's the case, then the two of us will go down now to see if we can crack this mysterious formation. There is such a mysterious formation in this planet. Maybe, there are many important secrets in this formation. If we get such an opportunity, maybe our strength can be improved even more. Yamozi opened his mouth and said. Yichu thought the same thing in his heart, and then Yichu put his hand on Yamozi, and he dived down with a fast speed of 10 minutes for Yamozi.